Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you guys here. Today is the Friday, the 24th of May, 2024. Thank you for tuning in. My channel, when I started it, it was all about this up-and-coming crisis. And we were so far out when I started my channel, nobody could see it coming. Now people are starting to really see it coming. We're getting very close. I've done the format change for this channel. What we're moving toward, but very slowly, is out of this format. It's going to take a year or two, and that's probably the timetable before the crisis hits. When the crisis hits, there's going to be nothing to talk about on here anymore as far as the crisis is concerned. And that's what my channel's been all about, is this up-and-coming crisis. But when the crisis is here, it's old news. You guys are going to be dealing with it. But I'm going to still be here, but in a different format. More of a, instead of talking about the news and stuff and what's going on, because the crisis will be on, it's going to be more about adventure. And more about following along with my story of walking through this maze that's coming up. It's going to be like a maze to walk through. If you make a wrong turn, you're going to get lost in the maze. It's going to be a maze, and you're going to have to be adaptable in order to try to navigate this situation. This is going to be the biggest change in human history in the shortest period of time for humanity. It's going to be as big a change is there was a big change that happened when we went from hunter-gatherers and we started to produce crops. There was a time, thousands of years ago, and that was a big change, and it happened relatively quickly. And we went into all the things that come with crops. They even had beer, you know. But before that period in time, they weren't not organized. The first civilizations came when humanity started to work on crops and things, and started to change from hunting for them, foraging for their food, to growing their food. This is going to be just as big a change in so many ways, and it's going to happen fast, probably within 10 years. And this crisis is an integral part of this change that comes along. You know, everybody's not crazy about change. You know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s and 90s. And that was a nice period in time. And I do look back on it with fondness. But that's over, you know, and there's a time for everything out there. Right now is not only is this change coming, but world events are speeding up toward a quickening, toward a huge crisis event that's going to move us into this next period where we change from a society that is like we have now, what I would refer to as the old system that we built over thousands of years. It's remodified into a new system. And what's this new system going to look like? Well, nobody has an actual crystal ball, but you guys can all see that it's coming. That an enormous event, a black swan's probably going to trigger it. And because everything's ready to go, this is like an avalanche that's waiting to collapse right now. It's like it's really a no-brainer, even though it hasn't happened. It would be like living at the base of an avalanche in some sort of a villa out in the Swiss Alps, and you got 50 trillion tons of snow hanging over your head. But no, it hasn't fell, but everybody thinks everything's normal. But that snow is overhanging, and it's going to let go one of these days, and that's what I'm telling you guys. And so I'm kind of timing all this, and that's why the big change in my channel is we're moving toward this Everything that I'm pointing out to you guys right here, all of these news stories and the silver and gold prices and the Dow Jones and everything, all the stuff that I'm reporting on, which I'm going to report on today, it's over the next year, maybe 2 years, I'm moving towards something else, because this is not going to be the thing that it was. Things are changing for me too, and changing for my channel, along with the changes that are happening in the world. And so I want to stay with you guys. You guys are a great audience, and I want you to follow me into this new paradigm, and we'll have fun. And so don't be frightened to change. Change is something that's inevitable. And so now we're going to take a look at the stories and how this is unfolding. These changes are unfolding right before our eyes right now. Let's take a look at what's going on in the world. Taking a look right here. Mexicans' monkeys are dropping dead. I guess they're just falling out of the trees. Dead. From these prolonged heat waves. They can't take the heat. Look at that poor little monkey right there. He's overheated. And, of course, they got fur, and they can't get that fur off of them. They can take an awful high temperature, so. We have air conditioning. But, I mean, we just had something happen in Houston. We had a storm move through, knocked the power out. And then it come in hot. And it's deplorably difficult when the air conditioning's gone and you get one of these heat waves. That makes it much more difficult for us. It's really hitting the monkeys hard, but this is not normal. This is one of your things here. The climate change is not normal. But it's happening. An awful lot of people are denying it, but that doesn't change anything. The monkeys are dropping out of the trees from prolonged heat waves. Taking a look here, another big change. People all used to have a drink when they got home from work. Now they pop a gummy bear. That's the big change. Or maybe they smoke it. But I'll tell you, it's harsh stuff to smoke. It makes you cough your lungs out. But an awful lot of people are moving into this, and more than alcohol. It's finally happened that daily cannabis use is overtaking drinking in the United States. It's happening, and so, well, there are reasons for it. I mean, people have a few drinks, they wake up the next morning and they get a hangover, and they feel like, they're just like, why did I do that to myself? And they're hanging near the bathroom, and they're got their hands on their head, and when they stand up, it just feels like their head's pounding, Whereas the same person, they try maybe a gummy bear or something, and there's no after effect of a hangover. And so an awful lot of people are switching over. An awful lot of people are diabetic and stuff, and they can't touch the alcohol, but they can do the cannabis. Now, Russian missiles kill 7 in Kharkiv, where Moscow troops are pressing. They're really pressing real hard. They're getting the green light, Ukraine, from a lot of places where they can use the weapons that are being given them to strike Russia. And Russia is striking back too. Russian missiles kill 7 in Kharkiv, where Moscow's troops are pressing. They're pressing really hard right now. Russian missiles slammed into Ukraine's second largest city in the country's northeast and killed at least 7 civilians there on Thursday, officials said, as Kiev's army labored to hold off an intense cross-border offensive by the Kremlin's larger and better equipped forces. So the Russian war is not over. In China, China says war games around Taiwan to test the ability to seize power. So they're doing these war games right in close to Taiwan, the People's Liberation Army. Land, sea, and air exercises that began on Thursday around Taiwan. Things are heating up. We all know about the letter written by General Minhan a while ago, and he outlined this situation. It hasn't went away. It's slowly heating up and getting worse, more toward the period where this could very well happen. And what do I mean by this could very well happen? China, Taiwan, and perhaps a war in the Pacific that might start in the Spratly Islands. As if we didn't have enough war already. You know, 5 dead and nearly 3 dozen hurt as tornadoes tore through Iowa. I'm going to tell you guys what. Part of these climate change and weather phenomenons that are hitting us, things that are making the monkeys drop out of the trees dead, the whole southern part of the United States and around the Gulf of Mexico and out in the tropical Atlantic is getting so hot, and this is why they're predicting such an extensive hurricane season. And it's because there's an enormous conveyor belt, the North Atlantic Meridian Current. They used to call it the Gulf Stream. There's problems with it. And what it is it's a heat and cold mechanism that's part of the planet's mechanism to exchange heat and cold and mix the two and make lukewarm. If you got a pot full of hot water, you got a pot full of cold water. You pour the two together, you get lukewarm. That's a mixing. That's what the Atlantic Conveyor Belt Current did, the Gulf Stream did. It mixed these waters, and so it changed the temperatures, and it cooled. It would cool the water down in around the Gulf of Mexico and in the South Atlantic. It would cool that water. And it would warm the water in the North Atlantic because it carried that warm water up into places. And this is why Europe is warm. Without it, Europe is going to freeze. The East Coast, Northeast Coast, where I am, is going to freeze without this current. And as this current is slowing down, it's having effects other places in the world, you know, and increasing hurricane activity, and probably has something to do with these derechos and tornadoes that are occurring that are increasing in frequency tremendously. This is going off the charts. Now, remember that airplane I talked about yesterday on the show, where they had the turbulence in Singapore airline flight? And this is why you should always wear your seatbelts on the airplanes, especially if the pilot says turbulence up ahead. 22 of these patients on board are needing spinal surgeries. But that's a lot. On an airplane, one bout of turbulence, and you got 22 people that need spinal cord surgeries. That's really something. I don't want to dwell on that story any longer because we've talked about it enough. Iran Army finds no sign of foul play so far in the Razi helicopter crash. No sign of foul play so far in this helicopter crash that killed Razi, the Iranian president. So they found no foul play in that. Now, the International Court of Justice has ordered Israel to immediately end the military operation in Rafah. United Nations Court ruled an emergency plea by South Africa on Friday with its judges ordering Israel to immediately halt its military operation in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip. Well, we'll have to see what happens there. And we got a shakeup going on in Russia right now. That's what I'm going to call it, because they're widening these arrests in these military corruption probes. They're arresting these Russian officials. And so that could be a sign of kind of a consolidation of power, where we do have them doing these military drills in Russia, locking and loading their big weapons aimed toward Ukraine. How does all that play in? I'm just not exactly sure. Now, the silver price today is up 31 cents at 30.36. So it's back up above 30 bucks. Did it drop below into the 20s again? I'm not sure. But it took a little dip. We were almost, we were at $32. Now we're at 30.36. It looks like it's stabilized now. That was the biggest dip we've took since it started to rise from $22 up to $32. It rose $10 an ounce. And this is the biggest dip we've had. Will it continue on its bull market march? I think so, but I'm not sure. Taking a look at gold today at $23.35, and it's up $6.60. Now the Dow Jones today is up 130 points at 39,195. It's dropped back away from the 40,000 mark where it touched 40,000. And now it's 800 points to the downside from that. Taking a look at our crude oil today at 77.33. It's up 46 cents. So crude oil tends to get up around $80 and it seems to back away and back down into the 70s again. Now, taking a look at our bonds and rates, we're looking at rising yields today, but very insignificant. The U.S. 10-year has risen 0.8 of a basis point to 4.46, and the U.S. 30-year is at 4.57, and it's fell a half a basis point. And taking a look at the dollar index today is at 104.71, and the dollar today is falling off. Thank you guys for listening to my show. Join up with the channel. We got a show coming this weekend that only members can watch. Plus, if you're a member, and I mean it's worth $3 a month or $3.50 or whatever it is, it's worth it to be able to not wait to see the show. I mean, if this was a channel that I liked, and I wanted to see my show, I wouldn't want to have to wait an hour. You get an early premiere, and I want to see the shows on the weekend too, see what's going on behind the scenes, and to me, which would be better? I got a cup of coffee in one hand, or I can watch a whole month's worth of these shows and get them when I want to see them. That's kind of a no-brainer. The coffee's only going to hype me up, and make me all coffee, if I drink too much coffee. Well, coffee does not have a good effect upon me. It's like I can feel my heart pounding in my chest, and I don't like that. I don't like getting hyped up. I like staying calm, not all buzzed. Or if I do get buzzed, I like something that is going to be like make me sleepy and calm me down, rather than something that's just going to turn me into a live wire. Anyway, listen, thank you guys. I'm rambling on. You guys have a great weekend. And thank you to my people who have joined my channel, and you guys rock. And we'll catch you guys in the next show. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye, guys.